Welcome, everyone. We'll get started shortly. We're very happy to have you here tonight. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, we have a lot of people here that are excited to talk with you about Mass Academy. We'll just wait another minute as people continue to enter the room. All right, looks like things have slowed down a little bit, so we will get started. All of the panelists, you're welcome to turn your cameras off and for a little bit as we give our little introduction, and then join us when it is time for you to present or talk. All right, hopefully you are seeing my screen right now, our presentation. Welcome. This is our information session for students and families that are interested in the Mass Academy of Math and Science at WPI. We are very happy to have you here tonight. We wish we could be in person. If we were in person, you'd see me standing right outside that door, greeting each and every one of you as you entered. Since we couldn't have you in person, we thought the next best alternative would be to at least show you the door you would enter if you were joining us. But we are the Mass Academy of Math and Science at WPI. We are a small public high school for 11th and 12th grade students. We have about 50 students in each grade, 11th and 12th grade. 11th grade students participate in rigorous coursework at Mass Academy in our day program, and our seniors take classes as commuter students on the campus of WPI with WPI professors and WPI students. So they are enrolled as full-time WPI students. Tonight, you'll hear more about our program. We'll talk about the curriculum. We'll talk about what the additional offerings are that we have in our program, what the requirements are. We'll also talk about the admissions process, and you'll hear from all of our faculty and staff. You'll also have a chance to ask us questions that we will answer at the end of the session. Before that question and answer session, you will hear from a student about the student perspective, and we have parents and students from our senior class that are here tonight to answer additional questions as well, if you have questions for them specifically about their experiences as students and parents of the Academy. So you will have questions tonight, I'm sure of it. My hope is that many of your questions will be answered during the actual presentation. So I ask that maybe you hold off on typing questions directly into the Q&A bubble right at the beginning. Maybe jot the first few of those questions down, or at least jot them down for the first few minutes, in the hopes that some of those questions will get answered during the presentation. But those that are not answered during the presentation, or any questions that you type in the chat, we will respond to them either by typing a response right back to you or by holding on to them for the question and answer session at the end, particularly if they are more involved questions or require a more lengthier response. If you have questions after the session, that's totally fine as well. You can email us. Our email address is on the website, or you can jot this down, mams-applications@wpi.edu. So who are we? My name is Ann Ludis. I'm the director. We also have here tonight Michael Barney. He's the co-director. Michael Barney has been the director of Mass Academy for going on 11 years now, and he is retiring at the end of December, but he is staying on, he has stayed on as co-director for this first 6 months of my transition into the director's position. I think that speaks volumes about the commitment of Mass Academy to its program. They want to make sure that the transition of a new director, new leadership, is as seamless as possible. The students are here for such a short period of time, and we want to make sure that it goes as smoothly as possible. You will also hear from Lisa Post, our school counselor, Anna Bain. She is a wellness counselor for Worcester Polytechnic Institute, and she also supports our program, supports our program with direct instruction to students as well as additional consultation support. You'll hear from Julie Terrio, our operations manager, as well as all of our faculty, Dr. Kevin Crothers, our STEM teacher, Mr. Bill Ellis, our physics teacher, Tom Ragley, our math modeling teacher, Kristen Small, our humanities teacher, Angela Tarico, our computer science teacher, and Julia Wildfong, our world language teacher who teaches both French and Spanish at Mass Academy. Now I'd like to allow you to see a brief video. This video includes former students from Mass Academy, so that you can hear directly from them what their experience was like here at Mass Academy and what they've done since then.
Mass Academy completely changed the trajectory of my education. It challenged me in ways that I wouldn't have been otherwise. I engineered a device to go inside an EpiPen that automatically calls 911 when the EpiPen is administered. I have a patent, and not many high school graduates can say that they have that.
Being a student at Mass Academy challenged me a lot and pushed me to my limits. It made me realize I could do things I didn't know I was capable of before. Studying abroad in France for 2 semesters, spending a summer out in Glacier National Park, it really opened my eyes to see that anything is possible.
One of the biggest skills I acquired from Mass Academy was confidence. I learned how to read high-level articles. I learned how to make my own conclusions off them and really think critically about everything that's out there. The communication skills really helped me get into Brown and also helped me a lot during my first year of college.
Mass Academy was a great decision. I was able to really do things that I was interested in instead of just following a standard curriculum. Because of Mass Academy, I became a scientist that can do more than just science. I worked in the Senate this past summer, and I was introduced to legislation, policy, things that I had never really seen before. I really want to make sure that I can translate whatever scientific things that I do in the future to actually having an impact.
Mass Academy really just changed the way I thought about what I could do with my life. This past summer and past year at UConn, I worked on creating a proposal for cervical cancer research in India, where I wanted to help more rural women access cervical cancer screening. And that whole process was something that was already familiar to me because of my time at Mass Academy. And I think that's what really allowed me to conduct my research and actually go through with all the things that I wanted to. The teachers at Mass Academy are really the first people that sat me down and said, you want to do this thing, you want to get a PhD, you want to do research, you can do it. It's possible. We'll help you. Doing the STEM project, going to the science fair at MIT, having all of the classes at WPI really helped me prepare for UC Berkeley and really allowed me to confidently say in my UC Berkeley essays, I want to do this and I want a PhD in this field and I want to do this research.
Since middle school, I've been really into science fairs and research, and Mass Academy helped me bring that passion to like an international stage. Through Mass Academy, I got to travel to places as close as DC, as far as India, to present research, meet with other students, and accelerate my path towards higher colleges. Coming to Harvard, I think probably the biggest skill that helped me was being able to be an independent learner, and that kind of a skill really makes me a more self-motivated student in college.
Mass Academy really fostered an independence in me that led me to be able to do the things that I'm doing now.
I'm a stronger leader, a better public speaker. I am more interested in collaborating than competing with others. I have more passion for what I'm doing, and I long to make a difference in the world.
Mass Academy gave me a lot more ambition. It gave me confidence. It made me set higher goals. Ultimately, it changed my life.
And that concludes our presentation. What else can we say? I hope you found that as inspiring as I did the first time that I saw that video. The New England Association of Schools and Colleges accredits Mass Academy of Math and Science, as it does all of the public high schools in New England. And part of the accreditation process includes a self-study where NEASC asks all high schools to define the attributes of their graduates. What is it that they wish and aspire for all of their graduates? It's called the vision of the graduate. And Mass Academy's graduates are, according to this vision, there are 4 attributes that we really want to ensure that we instill in each of them. One of them is that they are forward thinking. And by forward thinking, what we mean is that they see problems as opportunities, not as challenges or obstacles. They see them as something that they can either overcome or use to benefit others or expand opportunities for others. They're innovative. So they are thinking outside of the box. They are being creative, and they are trying to solve these problems in ways that maybe haven't been solved before. And they're using new ideas and willing to try and attempt things in different ways. Sometimes not always being successful, but getting back up again and trying another approach if that first one did not work. They're inquisitive, so they're curious. They're asking questions. They're wondering. I love that word, wonder. We right now are offering an extracurricular after school on Friday afternoons. We have about 30 students that are participating in this extracurricular, 30 juniors out of 50. And this is called, the extracurricular is called Creative Engineering and Design. And in this course, they're going to be programming with Arduinos, and they're going to be doing a lot of engineering. But this course starts with taking things apart. They're opening up phones and calculators and fans and keyboards to look inside to see how it works, what makes it work, what makes it do what it does. And so that's what we're looking for, people who want to kind of dive in and explore and be curious. And that's what we want of all of our graduates. And we want our graduates to be confident. And that doesn't mean that they're boastful, but what it means is that they embrace challenge. They take academic risk. They're willing to stretch themselves and be comfortable being uncomfortable. And because that's where we grow the most and we learn the most. That's what we're looking for as students coming in, and also that they grow in all of those areas as they graduate and move on. So what does Mass Academy offer? We have class sizes that average 15 to 18 students. We have differentiated instruction. Our teachers recognize and acknowledge that students come from all over the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and they have very different and unique academic backgrounds, just because of the programming within their schools. And so our teachers are careful in how they deliver curriculum, how they scaffold, how they provide appropriate levels of challenge for students regardless of their background. You'll see that in every course, every subject, but most predominantly you'll see that in math, where different pathways are taken in different schools. You'll see that in physics, you'll see that in language, and you'll certainly see that in computer science as well, where some students come in having no experience in programming at all. If you were to ask students, former students, faculty, to describe the culture of Mass Academy, more often than not, one of the first words they would say is that it's a collaborative culture. You heard in that video about the collaborating with each other, not competing with each other. I've heard WPI and Mass Academy students as being described as competing with problems, not with each other. And that's how I love to describe Mass Academy students. I think it's a beautiful way to describe what the environment is like in this school. The curriculum really is project-based. And we often say that students are presented with real-world problems. I actually think that at Mass Academy, in some cases, they're also faced with real problems. And what I mean by that is they have a real client, a real human client on the other side of that problem that they're trying to solve. And so this becomes a real personal endeavor to them to solve that problem. This happens with programming and developing apps, phone applications, Android applications, as well as assistive technology devices that our students design and build. And it also happens with their individual research projects, because every junior engages in a comprehensive research project that begins before they've even entered the building for the first day of classes. That research begins in the summer before junior year and continues through all of junior year. And seniors, and then they're presenting at science and engineering fairs multiple times throughout the year. We also have our seniors that engage in an independent project of their choosing. So talk about authentic learning opportunities for students. Senior year, they're on the campus of WPI taking courses with college students. So again, just really a really great opportunity. And this is a very supportive and close-knit community. And I'll share just a very quick story with you. Again, our students come from all over the Commonwealth. They're with us for a very short period of time. So it's very important to us that they build and form that community as quickly as possible, especially since this is such a rigorous academic program. So right after Labor Day in early September, we take all of our juniors on an overnight retreat, 3 days, 2 nights overnight retreat. So it's very early in the academic year. They've only known each other for at most a few weeks. And on the last morning of that retreat, our students were asked this year, our students were asked to form a circle, 50 students form a circle. And one at a time, they entered the middle of that circle and delivered a 45-second or 1-minute elevator pitch about that research project that they're designing. And not only did our students applaud and cheer the students at the end of each of their presentations, they cheered and applauded them as they entered the circle and walked toward that center of the circle before they gave their elevator pitch. They were lifting each other up before they were about to do this thing that was probably very scary for them to do. And so they were supporting each other and showing that support very openly. And this was after only knowing each other a few weeks. I think that's a really good example of what kind of culture and community forms at Mass Academy. So what can students expect? As I just gave, a lot of public speaking, so that they will have formal and informal opportunities to speak in their class, to outside guests, at full grade level sessions, at science and engineering fairs. So lots and lots of opportunities to speak publicly in their courses and in our program. As you've heard me already talk about, there's a lot of authentic application of their learning between the projects that have a real client behind them. We have math modeling competitions, we have the research that the students do, and they do technical writing, and so there's a lot of that authentic application. And again, the senior project that they're doing in many cases has real application. They can engage in a lot of extracurriculars too. There are some that students will likely wish to consider or wish to continue participating in at their sending schools, particularly with athletics programs. And in some cases, I'll talk about that in just a few seconds, in some cases they can do that. But we do offer our own extracurriculars as well, but they're a little different than what a typical public high school might offer. Our music program is the WPI music program. Our students compete in Cyber Patriot. We have FIRST Robotics supported by WPI. Team 190 is our FIRST Robotics team. We've got disc golf, photography, math team, programming team. We had a board game club during A term. So there are lots of extracurriculars that are a little bit unique. And again, really to try and enrich and support the offerings and the programming here at Mass Academy. We also, you heard me mention the creative engineering and design extracurricular. That is more of a course than just an activity or a club. We also offer CAD. So we have other sorts of kind of more academic-y type offerings that are available for students as well. And yes, academic-y is now an official word. We also have a community service requirement, 50 hours per year for each of our students, both in their junior year and again in their senior year. And many of our students exceed that minimum 50 hours per year. I mentioned a moment ago about athletics. Students are allowed to participate in the athletic programs of their sending school at public high schools with the principal's permission at that sending high school. And there's a waiver that we can fill out and send to the MIAA as long as the principal of that sending school approves. And then during our junior year, we are preparing students for academic coursework, full academic coursework on the campus of WPI. So the junior year program, all students take computer science, humanities, mathematical modeling, physics, STEM, which includes science and technical writing, and a world language, and we offer French and Spanish. Students also participate in physical education each term, and that phys ed is offered one afternoon per week for about 90 minutes at a time during the school day. And that physical education offering varies from term to term. Sometimes it is traditional physical education activities, and other times it's something like yoga or self-defense or even mindfulness. And Ms. Bain from WPI, who supports our program, she offers a mindfulness course. And I'm going to invite her to turn on her camera and her microphone and share a little bit about that and the other ways that she supports Mass Academy.
Thank you. My name is Miss Bain, and I've been working at WPI for the past 5 years as a counselor in their Student Development and Counseling Center. And we run a lot of groups up there and workshops, as well as working with students individually. And so some of the groups we had been running up there, we thought actually this also relates really well to high school students. And this is all stuff that I would have loved to have known myself when I was in high school. And so we kind of translated some of those workshops into kind of a mental health, mindfulness, wellness type curriculum that we now teach as one of the physical education offerings at Mass Academy. And then other things that I do for Mass Academy include supporting students as needed if they are struggling with any sort of mental health issues, or also just navigating the transition to Mass Academy in general.
Thank you, Ms. Bain. We're very grateful for your support. The senior year at WPI at Mass Academy is a little different. So now students are not coming to our building and staying at our building throughout the day. They're actually, our building is on the edge of the Mass Academy edge of the WPI campus, but they are actually on the WPI campus and traveling from building to building, class to class, just like a WPI student would be doing. WPI's academic year is a little different from other universities and colleges that you might be familiar with. Rather than having courses that run a semester at a time, WPI's program is one term at a time. So it's a quarterly program. So there are 4 academic terms that each last about 7 weeks, and students take 3 courses each of those 4 terms rather. So 3 classes each of 4 terms means that they are taking 12 courses on the campus of WPI during their senior year of high school. 4 of those classes will be a humanities, social science, or fine art, with 2 of those required to be an English or writing course. They will also take 4 math courses and 4 science, engineering, or computer science courses. So each term they'll take a humanities, social science, or fine art, a mathematics, and a science, engineering, or computer science course. They also take physical education for 2 terms. Those classes can be at the campus of WPI through the WPI physical education program, or they can be alternative types of physical education as long as they meet our criteria. Could be something like athletics at their sending school, or it could be private lessons, again, as long as they meet our criteria. Seniors are also required to complete a 100-hour independent senior project. Those projects range. Some of them are research projects, some of them are service projects, and some of them are just exploring a new interest or learning a new skill. We've had students, we might have somebody here who is learning how to cook and is writing a cookbook. We've had people receive EMT certification. We've had students learn new languages, learn how to play new instruments, all sorts of things, archery, all sorts of different ideas and activities that they explore on their own, and they choose those on their own. Seniors also, this is not on this slide, but seniors also have a faculty advisor at Mass Academy that they meet with weekly for check-ins to make sure that they are on track with their academic progress in the courses that they're taking that term. We also talk about their senior projects. We talk about their community service. We talk about their college applications as well. So, it's a really great way to give the students a little check-in, make sure they're doing okay, and keep them connected to Mass Academy as best we possibly can while they're engaging with WPI courses. Some of the great opportunities students have, you've heard me talk already about the research projects that they do. They have multiple opportunities over the course of their junior year to present. All students will do a presentation in December with judges where they will get feedback on their research presentations and their research up until that point. And then they'll have a chance to do another presentation in February and then continue on through local and statewide and then potentially national competitions. We have many students that attend Mass State Science and Engineering Fair, the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. We've had students this year that have presented at the Massachusetts Junior Academy of Sciences and a student who's been invited to present at the American Junior Academy of Sciences as well. So lots of honors for our students for their research. We do a lot of outreach programs as well. This ties to our community service. We have partnerships with some local organizations, including Elder Services of the Worcester area, Seven Hills, and organizations like that. And then we also partner with some schools. What you see here are some pictures of students from Mass Academy that partnered with a local middle school here in Worcester, so that during STEM week, which was back in October, every student at this middle school, every student in grades 4, 5, 6, and 7 received a lesson that was delivered by Mass Academy students during STEM week. The lessons were about binary numbers and ASCII coding, a little bit of an introduction to robotics, some animation coding, and properties, chemical properties, and density. So there were some great hands-on projects, as you can see here, and I think our students had as much fun as the students at the school we visited did. We have other community service as well. We do organize some community service activities at Mass Academy, but students find their own community service too. Projects that really speak to their interests and what they're really passionate about. So, community harvest, Special Olympics, a lot of tutoring, and just, giving back to the community in whatever way that they really feel is meaningful and valuable to them. And I mentioned our first robotics team, that's Team 190. You see here some members of Team 190, including members of the senior class at Mass Academy. Here they are pictured with Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito and WPI's President Lori Leshin. This picture was taken in August. The Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of Education Heiser came to WPI to announce this year's STEM week, and our students were invited to meet the Lieutenant Governor and talk to her about the robotics program. This year we have about 25 students that are actively participating in the first robotics team at WPI. So again, that's a huge representation, and the coach said they're really actively participating. These aren't just people who show up every once in a while, they're showing up every week, showing up all hours of the afternoons and evenings to work on the projects. The students from the team actually had a chance to see the Lieutenant Governor again on the last day of STEM week when they were doing hands-on demonstrations at a local elementary school here in Worcester. So lots of really great opportunities. And I mentioned the overnight retreat that we take students to. That's at Camp Borndale in Plymouth, Massachusetts. 2 nights, 3 days. It's a real camp experience. Kids are staying in cabins. They are swimming in a lake. They are boating. They are doing adventure adventure activities, they are hiking through marshes, but they're also bonding, and they are also working on their STEM research projects. And so it's a really great opportunity for them to build that sense of community very quickly. And as you can see, they all love their matching shirts. What does our calendar look like? It's something to consider, something to be aware of, because our school year is different than most traditional public high schools. The school year starts in mid-August, like middle of the month of August, and ends in late May. That has to do with following more closely with the WPI academic calendar. We do have 4 quarters like most public high schools do, but our breaks, our vacations are different. Our vacations are between the 4 quarters. So there's a vacation in October, another one in December into January, and another one in March. So notice we do not have the traditional February and April vacations. Our holidays follow the WPI calendar. So Columbus Day is a school day, Veterans Day is a school day, President's Day is a school day. So again, you need to plan accordingly because those are school days and not vacation days. Juniors sign into school by 7:40 in the morning and they are dismissed at 2:45. We offer extracurriculars in the afternoons from 3 to 4:30. Seniors have a different school day because their school day depends on their WPI schedule. So their start and end time for each day could be different Monday through Friday, and it could vary from term to term depending on the courses that they are taking. We do, though, have a check-in and check-out process for all students. For juniors, it's very easy. They check in at the start of the day, they sign out at the end of the day. And then for seniors, they are expected to sign in at Mass Academy 30 minutes before their first class, and then they sign out again at the end of the day after their last class. I would be remiss if I did not mention that about a month ago, niche.com released their 2022 rankings of schools, and Mass Academy of Math and Science was rated the best public high school in Massachusetts, the #3 public high school in all of America, and the #1 public high school teachers in all of America. We're very proud of that recognition. Oh, sorry about that. So does this sound appealing to you? I want you to think about that from 2 perspectives, what we ask of you and what you can expect from us. So we ask a real commitment, a willingness to take academic risks, to step out of your comfort zone and really be ready for a challenge. But what do you get in return? The opportunity for real project-based learning, really authentic learning, and access to the campus of WPI for a really strong academic program. If this appeals to you, I encourage you to check out our website for more details, for more information. We will also keep the admissions tab on the website updated as more information becomes available about our admissions process. But what I can tell you about the application right now is that the instructions will be posted in December. We're currently talking about, during this kind of extended delay after the pandemic, we're talking about what those requirements will be. We are in discussion about essays and a possible video submission. We did something similar last year. You can look on the website to see what that might have looked like. There will be no entrance exams or diagnostic tests required for the 2022 school year, or I'm sorry, application process. And standardized tests like the PSATs and AP exams, they are submitting any of the results that you have for any of those tests you may have taken. That's optional and entirely up to you. The application window opens on January 1st. The deadline for submission is March 4th. Decisions will be released in early May, and new student orientation will take place later in May. And with that, I think I have spoken enough. It is now time for our operations manager, Miss Julie.
Thank you, Ms. Ludis. Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Theriot, Miss Julie for the student here at the Academy. I am the operations manager. I am the first person that the kids see when they enter the school in the morning. I love to greet them. So, but I'm responsible for day-to-day operations, attendance, student forms, records, transcripts, etc. I have I answered the phone. So the main line, if you call for questions, I will be there to answer those. Even beyond this presentation, feel free to call for any further questions. And now that's it for me. So I would like to introduce our school counselor, Miss Post.
Thank you, Julie. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Post, the school counselor here at Mass Academy. Beginning in the spring of junior year through winter of senior year, I work individually with each student to make a college search and college application plan. This plan includes scholarship searches and guidance through the financial aid process. It's an individual plan with each student based on their interests, as well as other things that we talk about that they're looking for in colleges. I also provide personal counseling to students in need of support, whether that be academic or stress relief. I am the coordinator and I proctored the PSAT exams, AP exams, and MCAS exams. I'm also a member of the Wellness Committee, which we work as a group to provide wellness activities to our students to help relieve stress that they may be feeling. Also, as the alumni coordinator, I keep a database of all Mass Academy graduates and update them on current school programs. Our alumni are excellent resources and stay involved by participating as science fair judges and mentoring our students with their STEM projects. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to our presentation tonight. I look forward to reading some of your applications. And I will now turn it over to our award-winning computer science teacher, who is joining us from Kansas City, where she is attending a conference.
Thank you, Ms. Post. Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you for spending your evening with us today and learning more about our school program. So my name is Angela Tirico, and I teach computer science. I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk to you about the CS course. I'd like to look at the CS course as being broken up into sort of 3 separate parts. The first part starts with using web design technologies and implementation. HTML and CSS. The programs from the student perspective. The course will then teach the fundamental ideas of object-oriented methodologies through the widely used Java programming language. And the topics are strongly aligned to the AP CSA curriculum. So although it's not required that students take the AP CSA exam, they certainly can do that. So some of the topics just get into data structures. We talk about data types, data structures, decisions, iteration, classes. We get into some graphics, and some algorithms, looking at standard and file input output. Groups of 3. They go through all key, which includes idea generation. They get into market research. They look at data and technical feasibility to software product design, development, and then we have a presentation on our apps fair that we hold that allows the students to showcase all of their work. And here they really get through a software engineering lifecycle as well. I do coach 2 extracurricular activities throughout the year. One is the Cyber Patriot program, which is a national cybersecurity, and we do offer a programming team where we focus such as ACL, which is the American Computer Science League. So sorry about that. I think I may have dropped off.
You did
Can
drop
anybody hear
off.
me?
Yeah, it's been a little tough. I think maybe if people have questions, they can.
Okay.
So I'm just going to point out, as Mrs. Post mentioned, Angela Tarico is in Kansas City.
Absolutely. My email.
Mrs. Tarico's email address is on the website. There's also on the admissions page, there is a document that you can read with more information about the course. She's in Kansas City because she just received an award as the Innovative Teacher of the Year from the National Consortium of Secondary STEM Schools just today. So we do apologize for those technical difficulties, but I think you can see that it's quite an honor for her, for our school, and for our students. At this point, I will introduce Dr. Crothers, who will speak about STEM.
Welcome. Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Crothers, and I am the STEM teacher, STEM with advanced science and technical writing. And I see STEM, to convey it to you, STEM has 2 major projects: the independent research project, where students design an independent project on their own, whether it's a researchable question in science, an engineering need and a solution to that, or a mathematical conjecture. And during this independent research project, they go through the basic process of brainstorming for that question, reading the literature, designing the experimental procedure, data analysis, iteration, and then we ultimately aim towards communicating their work at school-based, regional, and then also STEM fairs at the state level and even at the national level. And we have several students right now who have been asked to present at international STEM fairs. The second part of STEM is the Assistive Technology Group Project, where we collaborate with Seven Hills, Easter Seals of Massachusetts, and also Elder Services of Worcester to work with their clients to identify a need and design and engineer a solution for that need. And then we ultimately communicate this work at our STEM fair in May. And I wanted to point out for both of these processes, we use the engineering design process and the research scientific method, if you want to call it that. But we use both of these methods in both areas and both group projects in the independent research project. But I also want to point out here that no prior experience is required. We take students from their sending school who may or may not have had prior experience with STEM, and we go through the process of developing these questions all the way to the end where they're communicating to judges that come in from the outside, ask questions, and present their work. So I enjoy working with the students here because they come up with some fantastic projects and they work hard for that, for those projects. So I'm finished. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Regley, who is our math teacher.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Kevin. Let's see. Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thanks for attending the webinar. I'm the math teacher at the Academy, Tom Regley. I'd say the basic makeup of the junior year math course is centered around problem solving, collaboration, support, and thinking differently. With many different communities represented each year, I hope that each student progresses at their own pace, generally. We achieve these things by working through a variety of topics in math, such as math modeling and problem solving. There's some traditional high school topics, some topics such as number theory and discrete math. So the math modeling itself takes on multiple meanings of math. Math modeling itself involves taking on real world problems. We take those into the math world. We work on them together in teams to try and understand the problem, understand the limitations, restrictions. We determine strategies and hopefully determine a best solution. The team must come up with an evaluation process to determine the feasibility of actually using their model. Much like the scientific process, the modeling process involves using multiple iterations to hopefully develop, better solutions. So modeling can also refer to demonstrations or problem-solving strategies. The attitude, mindset that each person brings to the classroom, how people approach each day. We share our experiences in our small community. So I strive for a student-centered, collaborative experience for all students. That's junior year and senior year. Everyone will take 4 math courses at WPI. I work with each student on mapping a set of classes that make sense for them. The most common sequence for our students is the Calc 1 to 4 sequence. But based on background and future plans, some students may decide to take a different sequence of classes. So I would encourage you to take a look at the student websites on our webpage. The seniors have kind of a full display of their websites, and the juniors have started building their websites. So it'll give you a feel, I think, for the classes at the Academy and also, the student experience. So thanks again for attending the webinar. And I would turn the presentation over to our wonderful and inspiring physics teacher, Mr. Bill Ellis.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So I'm Mr. Bill Ellis. I teach physics at the Academy. All juniors do take physics, and I do understand that coming from many different districts in Massachusetts, that students have a lot of different science sequences for their 9th and 10th grade. The majority of students have no prior physics. Some students have biochem sequence or bio, or they do have, a physics course in there, maybe 9th or 10th grade. So they all come in and no assumptions are made to your prior science course. And we will either take you from ground level beginner physics and accelerate you, or if you have prior physics, we can push you even further. We can do this through algebraic means, or some students like to do some of the calculus-based problems. And it's not a requirement, but a lot of students like to challenge themselves. So I like to stay in a high challenge, low risk environment on our day-to-day where effort is graded and not whether you get the right or wrong answer. Eventually we get around to some tests where, you should be getting the right answer, but the right answer is only worth a half point anyways. So it's really mostly about communicating and effort. So we do this with differentiated assignments, projects and labs. So just different students can choose how deep they want to go based on how complex of a lab they want to make or which problem sets they want to choose to do and work with each other. So it's a highly collaborative environment where the students are peer learning from each other. I do lecture some days, but other than that, I try to turn it over to the students to teach each other. That's the most I want to say. Oh, down the AP. So we are aligned to the AP Physics 1 and AP Physics C curriculums, but you are not required to take the AP test. That's just an option that most students take. And other than that, I think I'd like to hand us over to our humanities teacher, Mrs. Kristen Small.
Hi, good evening, everyone. One of the questions that I often get is, what does the humanities course cover at Mass Academy? And I would say it's a little bit of a lot of things. So we look at literature, history, philosophy, music, art, psychology, and even a little bit of neuroscience to examine our essential question, what does it mean to be human? I'm really interested in getting the students working together, asking questions, and looking at the ways in which interdisciplinary examination of these concepts leads to greater understanding and greater innovation. We have a high focus on communication skills. So students do a lot of writing, both with my guidance and the guidance of each other. In addition to that, we engage in a lot of smaller presentations, larger presentations, and discussion. By the end of the year, each student hopefully has grown as a communicator and is prepared to engage in college level writing courses. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our foreign language teacher, Miss Julia Wildfong.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening. I teach French immersion and Spanish immersion, meaning that there's absolutely no English in the class. The students are divided up into intermediate and advanced classes, and this is not based on the number of years that they've taken, it's based on a placement test. We do have students who've come in who've never taken a language, and I integrate them into the class. I have some different expectations for them. By the end of the year, those students are speaking, reading, and writing French and Spanish. If you have more questions about that, I can answer them later. Since students come from all over Massachusetts and have varying levels and experience with the language, there is no textbook. So I use a natural language approach in which we use authentic materials that students hopefully are enjoying using. For example, we use a lot of film and filmmaking discussions. We have a lot of games, literature, poetry, music, special projects. There's a lot of student input on what they would like to do. So that it's really important to me that they're using the language. So if there's something that they want to do, then they can let me know, hey, you know, this is a project I'd like to do, and we can work that in. I think that's pretty much about it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, wildfung@WPI. It is also on the website. And I would like to turn it over to our director, Ms. Ludis.
Thank you, Ms. Wildfong. All right, at this point, we are going to very soon start our question and answer session. So all of those questions you've been jotting down or holding on to, you're welcome to start entering them into the chat. But before that happens, I'd like for you to hear from a student, a senior at Mass Academy. She might have actually been in some of the photos that were in that one of those first slides where you saw pictures of some students. So Yiming, if you would turn on your camera, please, you're up.
Hi, everyone. So I'm really glad you guys are here tonight. My name is Yiming, and like Ms. Ludis said, I'm a senior at Mass Academy. I actually was in the first photo, the one with the two girls walking across the bridge. But I learned through Mass Academy through an info session that I had attended sophomore year. And I realized that I really wanted to come to this school because of the focus on STEM and the group projects, where I felt like I could actually apply the knowledge that I was learning and make concrete things and just make my general learning experience a lot more meaningful. I was also looking forward to working in a smaller community with peers who are also really driven, passionate, and talented. And of course, senior year WPI courses were another big perk. I would say that I had rather high expectations going in, but they were definitely met. So I learned a lot junior year, whether it was through the classes and the teachers, or just from working alongside my peers on helping each other with homework or working together on group projects. The extracurriculars that were mentioned, such as robotics, Cyber Patriot, and also Arduinos, were also very cool learning experiences and also good ways to connect with classmates. As for senior year at WPI, I really enjoyed being able to pick my own classes this year. I'm doing CS all 4 terms, and it just allows for a focused and in-depth background that I don't think I would have been able to receive otherwise. And so lastly, I would say that my favorite part about the Academy is definitely the close-knit small community that we have here. So the teachers are very approachable and helpful. We come from a lot of different backgrounds. Personally, I was rather inexperienced in research and CS, but the teachers do a really good job of bringing everyone up to speed and taking everyone in context. And the peers are also so supportive, and everyone's really trying to lift each other up and help each other. I would say that everyone here wants to help you succeed, and they will support you along the way as you try to reach your goals. I've made a lot of connections here that I'm planning on keeping long after I graduate. So all in all, I'm just really glad that I came to this school, and I hope you guys will consider applying. Next, I think we just have our Q&A.
Thank you, Yiming. All right, so Yiming is right. Our final portion of the evening tonight is really just to give you a chance to ask your questions and answer them for you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I invite all of our panelists to turn their cameras on so that you can see all of our faces. Those of you who arrived at the beginning of the, before we actually started the presentation, had a chance to see all of those faces. You're going to get to see them all again right now. All right, so questions are being added to the chat. I'm going to actually get the chat started myself. I'm going to ask a question of all of the students. And so maybe a couple, 2 or 3 or so responses would be helpful, because I think you'll have different answers. What's one piece of information or advice that you wish you had coming into Mass Academy at the start of your junior year? Now, I know it was the pandemic, but what's one piece of advice or information you wish you had coming into the start of your junior year? And don't all answer at once.
Well, one piece of advice which I definitely wish I had was, I guess it has to do with determination, because especially with our year, the pandemic and remote learning, it was all really tough. But all of us worked through it together. And I think if that piece of advice was to get through it together and to create those bonds and just to forge our way through all the troubles, I think that that would have really helped, especially for our junior year.
I definitely agree with Justin. I think one of the things that I learned along the way is that doing homework, especially together in a group, whether you're in person together or in the case of the pandemic when we're all on a Zoom call, that was really helpful in not only understanding material, but you're all interacting and having those actual conversations. You're not just sharing like, oh yeah, this concept, you have to solve it this way, or you have to format your citations this way. It's like, it's a live conversation as if you were in the classroom. And even without the pandemic, I still would say that coming to the academy, spending all of your time with your classmates as much as you can, even when doing homework, is really, really helpful in understanding a lot of stuff.
I totally agree. Oh, sorry. Kitty, you can go ahead first.
Thanks, Ansh. So I totally agree with Rama. I mean, over Zoom, I was not expecting to bond with everyone as much as I did, but I made great friends and I'm still talking to everyone this year. And the projects like the Apps for Good project in CS and the STEM 2 project, they were amazing. And you really get to get close with people and make really close friends. So I'm really glad that I had that opportunity.
Yeah, and what I was saying was that one thing that I would consider as a piece of advice would be feel free to like get criticism on the work you do and ask as many questions as you can, because I feel like that was one of the biggest part of learning at Mass Academy, the fact that you can ask as many questions as you want at any time and like basically improve your knowledge about any topic you want based on the questions you get answered. So I feel that's a big one.
Thank you all very much. Taking a look at some of the questions. So I'm just going to put these out there, and any members of the faculty or as appropriate students and parents feel free to answer. How does Mass Academy take student responsibilities into consideration when giving assignments and homework, such as outside work, family caring, etc.
I can jump in on that one. I think we try to always have dialogues with the students, and try to ask, do you have other assignments due this day? And be as cognizant as we can while keeping, the level of work that's necessary for the school to work.
Thank you very much, Ms. Small. How much does your GPA matter? And I'm assuming that's in terms of the application process.
I don't know if
think
that question is, does your GPA matter applying to Mass Academy or does it matter applying to college? I can speak to the college piece. We don't calculate GPA at Mass Academy, and colleges do not require a GPA when you apply. If a college wants a GPA, they will take all the applications that they receive from Mass Academy and from all the other high schools, and they will recalculate a GPA using their own formula. But if it's about college, we do not calculate one, and it's not a necessary part of the application process.
I'll try to answer as far as applications, and just saying that we don't have a set formula for how much each component of an application is worth. We look at a student holistically, the big picture and all the components, but there's not a set formula for how much something is worth.
Thank you both very much. The next question, and I think we might want to hear from some teachers and then some students. How many hours of homework can be expected each day?
That's a hard question to answer. I think that from one student, you would get one answer, and another student, you would get a very different answer. It really depends on the time management skills of any particular student. I don't think there's a number or an average, but I think the students would be better equipped to handle that question.
Can I hit that from a parent side? It's rigorous. The first semester is rigorous. But the time management is key. And once they get that, the time management, second semester seems a lot more palatable than first semester. But the first semester is hard, especially during COVID, which probably isn't fair, but during COVID, it's hard. And it's more than what they'll have in high school. Probably twice, 2 to 3 times more than what they have in high school, I would suspect.
I'll add on to what Mr.
Sorry about that.
No, go ahead. Who is that? I couldn't see who had unmuted.
That was me.
Go ahead, Arnav.
So I'll give a brief student perspective on this question. I think, yeah, it is a lot. I mean, it is more than what one might expect from a typical public high school. I do think Mr. Ellis mentioned that at least a lot of classes follow a low risk sort of format where you get in or you get out what you put into the course. You determine how much you want to learn, and based on that, the homework changes. With STEM, for example, it's a very rigorous project, but in the end, it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to you. I mean, that's why you chose the project in the first place. So you'll find that you have a lot of fun pursuing it. And another thing that was mentioned is that students tend to work together on assignments. Even when we were juniors and we were remote, we would often get on Zoom calls or some other format together, and we would even get class time to work with each other. So that kind of helps take the stress out of the workload. So there is a lot, but it gets easier to manage as the year goes on once you get more used to the kind of environment that you're in. And in the end, you'll find that the experience itself was really, really worth it.
Can any of the seniors perhaps elaborate on what it's like at WPI in your senior year, the coursework there?
So senior year is a lot different from junior year in terms of homework, I think, just because junior year, a lot of the homework that we get is more discussion based and it allows you to think a lot. So even if you're not familiar with the subject, don't get like discouraged because it takes you a long time because you're learning something new. But at senior year at WPI, the workload that you get, it really fluctuates depending on the class that you're taking. So you could get an assignment that's like an essay, like a normal analytical essay, and you'd have to post it within the next 2 days. Or you might get an assignment that takes you about a week to complete. And it could be just like 10 homework problems or something like that. So WPI's homework load might be more similar to something that you experienced at like your sending school, but it really sort of depends on what your interests lie in terms of the class that you take.
Thank you, Rama. The next question, Karen Haynes, I think you might be a good person to answer. It's about balancing, how well are students able to balance time between Mass Academy and sports at their sending school?
Yeah, I can answer that. So my daughter is a senior and she currently is playing field hockey at Holliston High School. So that's 6 days a week. So she's able to manage that. She also swims on a club swim team, which she's not able to go every day, but she goes about 3 to 4 days a week to that. So she is able to manage the athletics with schoolwork. She also will participate on her high school swim team too, when that comes around in a few weeks.
Thank you. What are the characteristics of a person that excels at Mass Academy? And conversely, what type of person struggles?
I can say something for this one. So this is from my experience, obviously, but to be honest with everyone, I struggled a lot during my first few months at Mass Academy. And I think the main reason for this was because I started off being very independent. Not to say that being independent is bad. It's great that you can do things by yourself and learn how to progress by yourself. But especially in the collaborative environment that Mass Academy has to offer, you should be open to working with others. And if you can do that, you can definitely excel here. That took me a little longer to learn, I think, than others, but eventually I did and things got better. So that's my thoughts on it.
I would add that you shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes at all. One thing you'll realize quickly is that the process is worth a lot more than your final answer. So even if you're getting completely the wrong answer, you're still learning a lot just from attempting that and putting forth your full effort. So don't be afraid to make mistakes and ask questions. And I think you'll find a lot of success and joy in that. And you'll feel very accomplished at the end of the day as well, regardless of whether or not you got the right answer.
To go off of what Rutvik was saying, the community at Mass Academy is very, very supportive. So even if you make a ton of mistakes, like it's literally no problem. Everyone understands that it's a really tough junior year and you're working really hard to learn from everything that you do. And I guarantee, like, even the people who seem the most perfect always make mistakes and everyone learns from them. And it actually shows a ton of character, what you're able to get from your mistakes. Are you just going to say, oh my gosh, like that was so bad? Or, you know, what can I do next time to make things a bit better? And that's what I really love about the community here, because everyone is looking to grow and get better.
Generally, adding on to what people have been saying, letting go of like this preconceived notion that people sometimes have that you just have to be the best, or if you didn't get it right, then you're doing it wrong and you're failing, and that you're competing with your classmates. I feel like the sooner you can get rid of that notion, the better off you'll be. The point is really not to be the like best student, whatever that even means. Like the point is to work together and to learn and to improve and to just keep moving upwards. And I think that the sooner that you realize that, then the more successful that you can be here. Because like people have been mentioning, one of the most special things is the community. So the best thing to do is to take advantage of that.
And I guess one final thing to add is that even within the teachers, I would suggest always asking for help when you need it. Personally, I experienced a little bit of trouble in sort of putting myself out there and asking my teachers for help. But for example, one time when I was struggling with homework for computer science, Mrs. Trico actually sat with me for almost an hour on a Friday evening to help me understand what was going on with my code. So even all of the other teachers are very, very open to giving you help when you need it and just like listening to any struggles that you're having. So within the students and within the teachers, the entire community is something that you should definitely take advantage of.
Thank you all. Those were great responses and a lot of wonderful insight. What kind of student applicants are considered strong candidates for Mass Academy?
I would say someone who has a record of showing grit, determination, passion for STEM, willingness to take risks. So a lot of the experiences that the students just shared, obviously like you haven't had exposure to everything, that's okay, but a willingness to try things, inquisitive nature.
Thank you. For the students, do you think, so I believe that means that this is a question for the students. Do you think the focus on STEM leaves enough room for artistic expression or creativity in your work?
Oh, absolutely. My one comment is that the humanities course at Mass Academy is one of the best I've ever taken. It gives you a lot of freedom to think creatively, think outside of the box, think in line with your passions too. And I think once you're passionate about something, you have all the artistic freedom and creativity that you would need. So I would say that this extends to all the other courses too, because science isn't a rigid thing. Everyone should be allowed to use their own personal passions and personal inclinations towards creativity in their applications in basically every class at Mass Academy. So I guess I would say, of course, and that probably shouldn't be a concern at Mass Academy at all.
In a more literal sense, a lot of students are also involved in musical ensembles on campus. So there's people doing jazz band, orchestra, and choir. So in a more literal sense, there's also always creative expression there. And we have a slam poetry elective, which is also a lot of fun.
And senior year, there are offerings in the fine arts that students can take at the WPI campus as well. Just throw that in there. Are all junior year courses AP level?
I can start with this one. So they're definitely at an advanced level. They do not really follow any AP curriculum. I would say that they're harder than APs, honestly. I mean, with APs, the focus more is studying and preparing for a test, while at Mass Academy, the focus is learning, growing, and working with a team to solve real-world challenges. So I would say, based on my experience, I took AP Statistics in 10th grade before I came to Mass Academy. I would say that Mass Academy is way harder. Every single class here is much harder than the AP classes offered at my school. But again, they're a completely different thing. So I don't even think you can compare them.
You will find that to some extent, some courses do align in some way. I know Mr. Ellis talked about how you take physics, it is completely different from a typical physics course or typical AP physics course that you might find at your public or private, wherever you are at currently. But chances are you will be prepared to take the AP exam for that respective class. So physics, computer science, those are two examples of courses that you will probably be prepared to take the exam for just by taking the class. But like Katie said, you go above and beyond that sort of minimum AP requirement when you take classes at Mass Academy.
I also had something else I wanted to mention along the lines of what Katie said. I know I personally took AP Bio during my sophomore year, and during my experience, we worked really hard all the way up until the AP exam. But after that, it was just kind of like movies, and things definitely kind of slowed down from there. Maybe other people had different experiences with their APs, but that's how it was with me. Once the exam ended, the rigor of the course kind of slowed down as well. However, here it's not like that. We go very hard until the very end, and you don't realize it ends until it does. And then you're just kind of like, wait, that happened? But yeah.
Thank you. What are the likelihood of leadership positions you can find at Mass Academy?
I, as a faculty member, think that there are so many. I think students can be leaders within the classroom to their peers. If they want a more formal leadership position, they can run for class officer or school council. And then there's also leadership positions on the teams.
And within clubs, and students who've chosen to start their own clubs.
Thank you so much. What would be one piece of advice you would give to someone trying to apply to Mass Academy?
I have something. Honestly, just be honest in your application. I feel like while I was doing mine, I was like, what does Mass Academy want to see in me? Should I like emphasize my math activities more or like my science activities? But really just like anything you're passionate about, anything that you're interested in, anything you've done, like put it down. I did Indian classical dance for a bit. Yes, that's not STEM related, but it's something I did and something I enjoyed. And I like to think that that puts some value in my application. So anything you're passionate about, I'd say spread it and talk about it. So yeah.
To go off of what Shreya was saying, along with showing things that you're passionate about, just show everyone who you are as a person. You don't have to be the best person at your school who's like this amazing like mathematician. Like if someone else is like that, that's perfect, but you're not that person. Share who you are as a person, how you interact with people, what you hope to do in the future, and not just in terms of what you hope to do at Mass Academy, but what do you want to do with your life? And it couldn't just be career oriented. It could just be values that you may want to uphold in whatever career or whatever job you end up doing in your life. And making that really clear in your application will not only show everyone the type of person you are, but also show them what you hope to learn as a person at Mass Academy.
I totally agree with that. I just want to point out, you will probably change completely when you're at Mass Academy. So like, for example, before 11th grade, I had never taken a CS course. Now I want to major in CS. So in your application, try to focus more what your values are, what you hope to grow into by the time you would graduate, instead of like what you might have done academically, because I can guarantee it's going to change. That being said, of course, it's still great if you have an academic accomplishment that you'd want to put down. That would definitely help your application.
Going off of what Katie said, I really feel like the point that you will change when you get to Mass Academy. So don't try to be someone you're not in your application. Write down what makes you you, and what you've done in your past that has defined you as a person.
And I think also think about how you'll take who you are now and transition that into Mass Academy. So think about like, we have these group projects, we have this rigorous coursework. Think about why you want to engage in that, and that'll really help you with your application. Like think about, people have been saying your own qualities. Think about who you are and think about what you've learned about Mass Academy and sort of see like, why are you a good fit for Mass Academy? Why do you want to attend the school? And thinking about that, I think will really help in the application process and just in general.
Another pro tip is to maybe look at some of these student websites if you want to gain a better understanding of what we do here and the type of things that we work on. And one last thought is just that maybe think about what you would bring to the community here as well as what you would gain from the community here. Because like we mentioned, that's kind of one of the best parts of coming to this school is the fact that everyone's coming from these different backgrounds. We all have these different ideas and ways of thinking. Yet at the same time, we are all very similar in the sense that this is like the group of like the most like friendly yet like ambitious people I've like ever met in my life. And so I would think of how you would contribute to that community as well, you being the person that you are.
Those were all great pieces of advice. Thank you all. I'm going to take the next couple of questions here. I think they go together. So the first one, how has COVID affected day-to-day student life, and do you see it returning to normal next year? Now, seniors, I'm not going to ask you about last year. Okay, I'm not going to ask you. This year is pretty close to normal in the sense that we're able to be in person every day. We do wear masks all the time. We have COVID testing every week. So those protocols, those safety protocols are in place. We've got the hand sanitizing stations throughout the building. All of that's happening, but we're able to engage and collaborate and be face-to-face and be in the school. And I think that that's really incredible. So I'm very hopeful that that will continue and that next year will be even better. The other question that was related to this, or I'm going to kind of lump it as being related to this, is about shadow days, and will we be having any shadow days? We do not have any shadowing opportunities available for students at this time that we have planned for this year. Any updates to that will be on our website, but we are planning some virtual visits where we'll bring in hopefully some of these students will volunteer to be a part of that as well, and give prospective students an opportunity to engage with some of our current students and kind of get that experience that way. And that would be a very student kind of driven day, but we will have more information about that in the coming months. How in depth do we go in humanities, specifically in history, government, and international relations? Also, how well-rounded do you feel classes are in general in all fields other than STEM? So Ms. Small, I think you were starting to type an answer.
Yeah. So it's definitely not a government class. I was typing, I definitely encourage students to look at things through sort of like a global perspective at all times. But because I'm looking at all of these different subjects combined, I usually say if students want to get really into government or a specific area of history, that they should take a course during their senior year as part of one of the humanities offerings that they have to fulfill. I don't know if someone else wants to answer the second part of the question.
How well-rounded do you feel classes are in general in all fields other than STEM?
I think one thing that I've noticed about all of my classes junior year is that every class, everything you learn in each class connects to each other. So even if you're not learning about the same subject, what you learn about public speaking and writing in humanities can definitely apply to technical writing with your reports for Mr. Regley's math class. And even with all of the public speaking that goes on in every single class, you're still like compiling all of the skills that you've learned, academic or soft and hard skills, together to just become a better speaker and communicator with everyone that's around you.
Thank you. So aside from problem solving, how much of a focus is there on research-based or proof-based mathematics? So Mr. Regley, that one's for you.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, I was answering another question there. I was typing away. So research-based or proof-based mathematics. There's lots of opportunities that people play with, and I think a lot of students participate in many other math programs as well. We have students participating with Promise, so they self-study. We have students that just self-study, on their own. We have students compete that take on math projects for their STEM 1 research. So I think there's lots of opportunities to kind of to study, all sorts of mathematics at the academy. In the class, generally math modeling and mostly problem solving with some introductory proof stuff. So.
Thank you, Mr. Raley. What celebrational activities does Mass Academy offer? Is there a prom, dances, and anything school spirited?
I can start on this question. We actually have a dance tomorrow. It's going to be a glow in the dark homecoming, so that should be fun. We also do have a semi-formal and a prom, although our year did not due to COVID circumstances. We're making up for it this year. As for other events, I know that we ran a field day last year at the end of the year, which was fun. We also did do a virtual school spirit week, which was interesting. We had many nice backgrounds going. There's also all school meetings every Wednesday. So last year we would play Kahoot during them. And also in mindfulness meetings with Mrs. Bain, there would be some games that we'd play in there as well. So those are just some of the more, and of course, Boundless Adventures at the start of the year is, Borndale is the iconic annual trip. Our grade did Boundless as a replacement. But yeah, there's definitely many opportunities to just have fun and hang out with your classmates.
I think another cool event that usually runs every year, I believe, is Diversity Day. So we get to share our cultures, try new foods, and learn lots of new things. And I personally had a lot of fun during that day, and you get a chance to maybe dress up in your culture's traditional attire. And yeah.
And this year the juniors did dress up for Halloween, and so did some of the faculty members. So not that anybody knew who I was, only a few people could figure out who I was. Yeah, so people, it really is a really good kind of community and for that type of activity. A lot of it is student driven. When the students say, hey, we would like to do this, if COVID doesn't get in the way, we try to help make those kinds of things happen. So I think that that's another driving force behind all of this. I'm going to ask a question too of the parents. If any of the parents would like to give some advice to parents about being a parent of students who attend Mass Academy. Any advice for parents?
I guess just being supportive and encouraging to your student, and also, being positive as if it's hard, just try to keep encouraging them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I echo with Karen. The parents just really need to be there for the students and be supportive. They will be stressed out, probably, especially in the first semester, a little bit more than the second semester. And then just provide, your support, mental support, being stable as a stable point for the student in your house. That's very important.
Thank you very much. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. So unless anybody throws something in there right now, I think we will conclude our presentation for the night.
I just want to add that, I really value Mass Academy for providing a lot of opportunities to the students so that they can really further explore their own research interests or, whatever their extracurricular interests, and kind of integrate that into the curriculum already. And so actually in that sense, I felt that compared with a lot of other public high school programs that we have experience with, it's a little easier at Mass Academy because the students are really having the space and the time, and the curriculum already covered out the time and the support from the faculty and their peers to support them to really further go down in depth into something that they probably would have much limited time and support to do in a traditional public high school because of the traditional curriculum that actually takes too much of their time to maintain a great GPA. So I really think that's a point that if your student is somebody who enjoys this kind of exploration, enjoys, has a specific kind of like interest, especially in STEM, then I really think Mass Academy is the place for them. That's just from my observation of my daughter attending Mass Academy.
Thank you very much. Please check out our website. More updates on the admissions process, the application process will be posted there in the coming weeks, particularly in December. You'll see more information there. And again, the application window opens January 1st. If you have any questions, feel free to email us and we would be happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night and enjoy the rest of your school year. Thank you so much.